The Emperor's children try to excel in all things. The drive to impress and dominate others by sheer skill alone permeates the Legion. There are those that especially thrive in the bloody dance of combat, toying with lesser opponents and searching for the most impressive foes on the battlefield. These cruel and arrogant warriors are consumed by pride in their own skill at arms. Granted power by demonic patrons, the flawless blades strive to entertain their malefic masters with superlative swordsplay and by inflicting vile and visceral death upon their foes. Hascule, Thorn of the Silken Blade, is one of those pompous fighters. But is he really as flawless as the moniker states? Or will he fall to the wayside, forever lingering at Stone 1? Welcome, dear viewer, in this extravagant circus that is Tacticus. I'm your host Tactifux, and today we'll examine the newest fighter coming to the game. Hascule of the Emperor's Children is a rare character, needing 130 shards to unlock. His event will start on December 7th. I'm really glad we're getting more chaos this month, and Hascule definitely is an interesting beast. Another Slaneshi worshipper clad in pink, dual-wielding power blades that flash with exquisite pink lightning. A canister of combat stims directly feeding into his abdomen, which he wears bare, probably as a show of skill to intimidate foes. I like this Emperor's Child most design-wise, and with the inclusion of the demonic face stretched on his chin, I can finally believe that his veiny armor is supposed to be marbled instead of flesh. Thanks, Desmond. What does he bring to the table? As a swordsman extraordinaire, Hascule of course features parry, reducing incoming melee hits by 1. His health is on par with Titus and Rask at place 35 for a decent but not impressive bulk. His lack of abdominal plating clearly shows a misunderstanding of armor, and consequently he is below average at place 60. A spot he shares with the likes of Actus or Atlacoia. From the design alone, you can see that this guy isn't defensive. Hascule's crit-focused equipment, with a defensive rather than a block equipment, mirrors that. His 3 hits of piercing damage really specialize in bringing down armored targets. Here he is in place 7, just after Tavak and Incisus, and a tad better than Atlacoia. Against unarmored targets, he deals below average damage at place 73. You can compare him to Calande's melee attack or the Parasite of Mortrix. It fits his legion to excel at specific things, but just be okay in another. At an above average move of 4 for Marines, he is able to position himself well, which he will need. The usual Thrill Seeker trait helps him with the already considerate possible crit chance of 40% with legendary equipment. Don't be fooled though, as his abilities can really help him shine. His passive, Ecstatic Slaughter, lets him attack pretty often under optimal circumstances. Whenever he becomes thrilled, meaning when he's damaged or attacks an enemy at full health, and every time an adjacent enemy to him is overkilled, he will deal 3 hits of eviscerating damage to an adjacent enemy. While the damage at level is around 60% higher than his normal damage, Eviscerate only has a 50% pierce ratio instead of piercing's 80%, but this helps him with fighting unarmored fighters. You can see here that this attack would be at place 32 instead, and you have to remember it is additional to his normal damage. For well-armored enemies, you will deal around the same damage as your normal attack does. Keep in mind we're considering infinite armor here, so you probably do more. You can also pretty much chain the effect, as of course fighters overkilled by him will also trigger it, and if you attack a healthy enemy with his first attack, it isn't uncommon to see him attack 3 times. His initial attack, the follow-up for becoming thrilled if he isn't already, and then often another attack for overkilling the initial enemy. This also lets him retaliate in the enemy turn, as becoming damaged drills him. You could also trigger it by setting him up on a Fire Hex, for example. Since thrilled lasts for 1 turn, pay attention to whether you're already thrilled from an enemy attack when considering attacking a fighter. This works nicely with Thrillseeker's bonus, as you will always overkill an enemy you hit with a crit. This means a considerate amount of attacks he does will be guaranteed to overkill, just by having a crit in them, which will help you trigger ecstatic slaughter even more often. Should the enemy survive this special attack, he will be taunted for 1 round, assuring him attacking Hascule for potential retaliation. His active also plays with the taunt effect, but it's a bit more complicated to use. You basically taunt an enemy. You deal some extra damage, like 1/3 more if leveled, and reduce incoming damage per adjacent taunted fighter by an amount depending on the ability level. This ends your turn though, which would be okay, but all other taunting fighters basically deal some damage, or in the case of Sibia, at least enable others to deal more. You will find a way to make Hascule attack. This is possible, for example, by overkilling a fighter adjacent to him with a friendly fighter, or, if you're not thrilled yet, by waiting for an enemy to attack in their turn, which will inevitably come against the AI, but a skilled human opponent just won't attack you. They would deal less damage, you would retaliate with extra damage, and if you don't kill the taunted enemy, you will lose between 50 and 30% of Hascule's health. This is a massive downside, and you will really have to be cautious if you use it. Best set it up when you have another weak enemy next to Hascule, so you can exploit the passive by overkilling them with an ally, and best don't use it if you're already thrilled. You want the enemy to trigger it. If you pull it off though, you can use it another time. I would say don't invest in this ability over the other one, which is much better. Hascule's effects are pretty nice, but need skill to set up. This pretty much disqualifies him for a Guild War defense team in my eyes. The lack of hits and mini-fungal abilities for guild raids will also bar him from having heavy use there. For legendary events though, Hascule seems a more interesting candidate. I guess Thrillseekers will become a requirement at some point, now we know that all 5 Emperor's Children have it. But the Imperial Guard track in the Farside event shows no faction is secure from being used in legendary events. His melee focus and number of hits won't set him apart, but without Xenos there are only 9 parry characters, 7 of which are Imperial, which is why we won't see it without those corpse worshippers anytime soon. Eviscerate is equally rare, with 7 characters without Xenos and 9 characters without the Imperium. Piercing has been a common enough requirement in events and is always hungry for good characters. Without Xenos and Imperium there are 10 or 11 characters applicable respectively. The ability to attack multiple times and retaliate might be enough for him to shine, but he will need support regularly and need a healer as his defense leaves room for improvement. He certainly won't be a must-have character for anyone, but I like his intricate gameplay well enough to develop him at least a little. What do you think? Will he warrant investment? Before I get to the mythical content as usual, I'd like to ask you to kindly use my referral code BAT60edu for 100 Blackstone for you and various rewards for me. If you'd also like to see my channel excel like the Emperor's Children, subscribing for future content and sharing my videos around would really help me out. Hascule is able to equip the Mythic Relic Intoxicating Elixir, as do all of the Emperor's Children. And wait, yeah, it's almost on his model. How without combat stims would he be able to be that energetic? With it, Hascule deals more crit damage for every unit within 2 hexes that is suppressed, stunned, taunted or thrilled. As thrilled happens before dealing damage, that is just some bonus damage when you crit already. Of course you can help it along with other fighters. If you use your active, your enemy will thrill you and provoke a counter attack, while being taunted for double the buff. Scoring 21 hits with Hascule in 1 round needs you to utilize his passive well. At least it's round this time, so the retaliation against enemies will also count. First I thought it should be easy by surrounding yourself with guardsmen in the Fall of Cadia campaign, and then overkill 1. This would only work though if you overkilled 1 with the effect after normally attacking, and then killing all around with 1 hit, the passive each for 7 attacks of 3 hits. But as the guardsman will probably attack you too and trigger your retaliation too early, you would need to go into the horde thrilled and get swarmed, which is hard to do. Trajan will only add 2 hits, Vitruvius 1 won't help either, and Pastilian is only 2 extra hits. With Toriad adding a hit to each melee attack, this could help, but you will still need to overkill a lot of enemies, and the only way this unlikely pair could work would be at low legendary event levels without Xenos. So why not use all of them? I used Hascule, Trajan, Toriad, Pastilian and Vitruvius on the Winged Prime sub-boss. Why him? The Ripper Swarms have 5 members, so Hascule won't kill them immediately, and can do his hits more reliably. You can see here that it isn't a bad idea to let yourself get swarmed a bit, kill one enemy adjacent to Hascule to have him dish out hits all around, and then send him into another wave of enemies, as his turn hasn't even begun. Then just attack a weak enemy with him again to get him to start going on a killing spree again. You don't even need as many buffers as I needed, but this made this really reliable without a lot of maneuvering. The second one is a head scratcher too, as to become watched, Hascule needs to use his active. If you still want to attack afterwards, you need to overkill an adjacent enemy and will then have to have enemies with enough health left. I can see this happening in high level arena, but warranting a lot of investment into Hascule. Guild raid sub-bosses won't help us here, as they are immune, and while the ability doesn't state it, the successful taunting of the enemy is mandatory. You will just waste a turn. You can, however, just use the active on an adjacent normal enemy, which will get taunted, and then use the boss as a damage sponge afterwards. I thought. But it turns out that Watched by Demonic Patrons ends when you kill the taunted enemy. You need to kill that one last, so the effect sticks, or need to find an enemy that has enough health, so killing them next round would be enough. Your passive seems to prioritize kills and high damage, so stick your active on the one you will least likely kill, and hope that the RNG is with you. It is nice though that you get watched until the end of your next turn, so technically you could even attack in your next turn when Hascule is open to attack himself again. Which means we need arena pretty much. Where else to find such high health fighters? You can do it on a very high level onslaught, but of course your Hascule needs to survive and you need to use the ability at exactly the right time. The recording you see didn't count. The buff was still standing the whole time, it was all in one turn, and he damaged Snot for over 9000 damage, and then did a hit against Mataneo. Maybe you can see where I failed. This one here did go through though. In any case, be sure to bring enough buffers so he can overkill his mark to get more hits on adjacent enemies, and search for an open, small map, so you can get the enemies lined up nicely. Bonus points for enemy biowars, so you can trigger the overkill attacks more often. 3 is using 20 abilities. While the ability is hard to use, this mission can be farmed in any capacity Hascule can be used, and as there are enough campaign levels for Chaos, this is no problem and can even be done in one battle against Voxcasters. Defeating 3 suppressed enemies in one turn might be harder again, as you will often kill the enemies you suppress. You can get Hascule surrounded and have a boardguard stand by to suppress the enemies, but you could always use the Meliors to suppress enemies and then defeat those. I hope for this that your Meliors isn't too strong and you'll still need to hope enough relevant enemies are hit. This is probably best and easiest in the arena again. Fighting in arena fits with a flawless blade of course. I did it here in Onslaught though, as there are 3 suppressing fighters among the Forces of Chaos. Volk, who can suppress multiple fighters even in close quarters with his active, Toth, who can suppress 1 with his ranged attack, and Chiron, who can suppress up to 3 with his active or 1 at range. I also took Abaddon to buff Hascule so his skills would go through. If you suppress Ripper Swarms, you're less likely to kill them with your suppressors accidentally. Dealing 60,000 normal and ability damage respectively with Hascule basically will be an easier task again. So that's Hascule for you. Do you like him? Will you take him on his path to glory? Let me know in the comments. While waiting for him, you don't have to languish in boredom, but can instead watch some more videos by me here. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.